Hello, my name is Arthur. In the last video we gave this new tank effort some treads, and I said we would come back and have a look at the itty bitty tank to scale with the other things. So I've dropped it into the scene with the other tank so we can get an idea for the scale difference. So there's a considerable scale difference. We've now made one tank that can be controlled with a gamepad, and this one I'm going to take a different direction on. So I'm going to treat this project like kind of like an experiment ground and just try some experimental stuff. So I'm going to see about trying to get this tank to function more like an RTS. So a kind of a select the tank and point to a place and have it drive to that place and see if I can get that working. So we'll just shut down this map and we're going to create a new map. So we're going to create the map for this guy to be on. So to do that, we'll open up Blender. We'll get my root blend file. This is my root, so it's got the animations prior to being pushed down into NLA strips. Let's just get that menu out of the way. So I'm going to wind back the animation, which I forgot to do in my previous video before deleting them. I'm going to delete that animation, so we'll just get rid of that. We don't need that anymore. And I'm going to save this as another branch. So I'm going to save as, and this one's going to be called maps. So I'm just overwriting an already existing file, but now it's called Abrams_maps. So the idea here is that this is going to be a place that I can make assets and just use the tank for scale purposes mostly. So we'll pull this up so that it's on the floor. We're going to want to Shift S, bring our cursor down to the world origin, and let's click over here and start a new collection to work in. That way we can turn off our reference, our scale reference, anytime we need to get it out of the way. So what I was thinking of trying here is to make the map for this RTS kind of character into a round map, and then the camera control would basically be the ability to orbit around the map like that. So I would start with a circular map, and the camera would kind of be on the outside of that circle at all times, looking in. That's my thinking. I haven't even experimented with this idea, so that's my thinking, but how it's going to play out, I'm not really sure. Now, one rule that I think should probably be followed for the floor is the floor should be in a fashion that in Godot I can make it into a new box shape, into a cube, because certain kinds of floors don't work that great, and we don't want the tank to have the ability, or anything to have the ability, to fall through the floor. So I'm thinking that even if I make the map a circle, underneath that circle graphic there's going to be a cube. So more or less what that means is there's going to be the floor, and it's an absolute. Nothing's going to be inside of the floor, but maybe things will be on top of the floor. So hopefully that makes sense. I'm going to start off in top view and make something to be the map. So I'll Shift A, I'm going to add a circle. F9 will just call up its dialogue. Let's fill it with a triangle fan over the N-gon, because it might be handy to have that. Now for a radius, for scale, I'm not really sure here. Let's just take a guess. Let's scale at 25 times. Let's get an idea for what that's like orbiting. So that makes the tank pretty itty bitty. It's a pretty big map. Let's see. Yeah, I think that'll work out though. So we're gonna call that the map. We'll bring that into edit mode, and let's see. I've already created a UV image to put onto this. So let's go into UV editing, and let's put that image onto it. It's just a simple green with some noise thrown on the image. So I think that would be fine. Let's give this a material. We'll call it ground. And maybe we should underscore it and specify 1, assuming that there'll be more than one map. So we'll just map that on. Image texture and ground 1, which is the name of the image file as well. So that gives us a ground. The noise serves to make it so it's not too monotonous, and that'll be fine. Now we need something to keep the player on the inside of the map, so we would make a wall. And I've also created an image for a wall, so let's go back to a top view. Let's circle deselect. We'll shift duplicate. So we have 2 copies here. We'll P, separate that. So we'll separate that selection, and all of these things are going into collection too. So let's give some names now. Ground underscore 1. We'll call this wall underscore 1, and we're just going to assume that we're going to end up with more than one of these things. So let's deselect. Oh, that's a mistake. Can't deselect until we go into object mode. So we'll deselect, we'll get the wall, and we'll bring that into edit mode. So we'll select all of the wall, and let's extrude that. So we'll extrude, scale. We'll scale it in a little bit, and that should be good. Let's see what we got for faces there. We'll select all, and I don't know, I might need to duplicate here. I think I'm going to duplicate first. So I'm going to duplicate that, drop it, and then I'm going to extrude the duplicate. So I'll extrude that. And let's see, where is the tank in all of this? So we just need this to be tall enough to hold the tank in. Let's make it just the size of the tank and call that good enough. Now we'll select all, merge by distance. That's going to remove the duplicates, but it should ensure that this is a pretty contiguous piece, like it's got a top and a bottom and it's a solid piece. In Godot, what we'll do with this is we'll turn this into a tri-mesh collider. So that's the collider that will hold the player in. So let's go into UV editing with that. Let's UV, smart UV project, and see what we get out of that. that should be okay, I guess. We'll just see how it works out. So now we're going to open up a second image, which I've just made a rock pattern, and we'll see how that fits. So the wall has an unwanted material on it. We'll give it a new material. We'll call this wall underscore 1. Give it the image texture, which is already open. So we'll just pick rock wall, and we'll see what that looks like. Now, we can go into edit mode, select all of this. We can move stuff around, or we can just scale it and let it tile. And sometimes I like to just ignore what's going on in this window here because it only matters so much. So we can just scale and scale. It's doing all sorts of crazy stuff. Like, it looks crazy in that window. We can't even see the shape anymore. But we've gotten the desired effect. And that's what I'm concerned about, is getting the desired effect. So that looks pretty reasonable. Now we have a floor and a wall. Maybe not the greatest graphics, maybe not up to what some people would want to see here, but they're graphics. And that's what we're shooting for, is making some graphics. Now let's make one more thing, and let's make a hill. And this is going to be a super simple graphic also. So we're not going to do anything special. We're going to put in a cube. We'll call it Hill 1. That's fine. We'll go into wireframe again, and we'll bring this into edit mode. Let's look at it in vertices. Put things onto global. Select the bottom of that. Put that onto 0. Then scale it. So we're going to scale that out. That's visually confusing, but it's a hill. So that's a kind of hill, very easily created. We could expand the top of that a bit. And that should give us everything that we need out of it. So let's select all. We'll go into UV editing with this. We'll give it a material, new, hill, underscore 1. And for the sake of ease, let's just give it the rock material. So we'll give it the rock material, but we'll stretch it out so that it looks different. So it'll just kind of be grayish, really. So let's see, rock wall. We select all, and we scale. We'll scale it down this time, and just let it turn into something like that. And again, it's nothing special, it's just a graphic. So now we have 3 graphics to add into our game effort. Now we can export these all together, or we can export them separately. Now if we export them all together, we'd basically be opening the import in Godot 3 times and deleting the wall or the floor or the hill from it, and then saving it as scenes. So let's do it that way. Now we'll export file, export GLTF, include limit to selected objects. We'll go into the folder, world, and we'll just give it the name of the blend. So I've created a new folder in my Godot project that I called world. So we'll export that into Godot. We'll see what we get there. So we'll open it anyways. And that's what we get. It's kind of an odd graphic for the hill, but it'll work. It'll do what we need it to do, which is act as an elevated place that the tank can drive on. So let's grab up our tank. It's good to remember that nothing here has any physical existence yet. So our tank has no physical existence, and our floor ground has no physical existence. So that's what we'll do in the next video. We'll come back, we'll separate this scene properly, because we're just looking at what we got out of that and kind of getting an idea for what a camera would look like on it and sort of what we can get out of this. So yeah, in the next video we'll come back, we'll separate these into pieces, and we'll use it to create the first map for this tank unit and see what we can do with that. And until then, take care.